Yes, Mr. Millett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next witness is Mrs. Maria de Fatima Alves. Mrs. Alves. Can I please call Mrs. Alves?
Yes.
I swear by Almighty God
I swear by Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give
that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sit down, make yourself comfortable.
Thank you.
All right? Yes, Mr. Millett.
Good afternoon, Mrs.
Good
Alves.
afternoon.
Can I start, please, by asking you to give the chairman your full name?
Maria de Fatima Rodrigues Tavares Alves.
Right. I wonder if it might be possible for you to pull the microphone just a little bit closer to your mouth so that the transcriber can hear you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can I begin by thanking you very much for coming here to the inquiry and assisting us with our investigations. We really are very grateful to you.
You're welcome.
I understand that it might be difficult for you to answer some of my questions and relive the events of the night. And so if it's difficult at any time, we can take a break. All you have to do is just signal and we can stop.
Thank you.
My questions are intended to be short and simple, and sometimes they're not. And if you want me to repeat a question or a word or explain the question, I'm very happy to do that as well.
Thank you.
It may also be that sometimes when you're answering my question, I'm looking somewhere else. I'm looking at the screen or my papers. But I am listening very hard to what you're saying. So don't think that I'm not paying attention.
Thank you.
Now, can I start by asking you to look, please, at your witness statement that you gave to the inquiry, and that is IWS 443, page 1. Now, on the screen in front of you, and you can look at it in the file if you like, or on the
Sorry,
screen.
I can't see. Yeah.
It's not on. Is it not on the screen?
Yeah, but I can't see with these glasses.
Oh, okay.
Put a bit more. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a paper version of that in the file in front of you, so we can use that if you prefer.
It's all right. Thank you.
And we'll do our best.
This one. Yeah, all right. Thank you.
Okay. There's also the screen at the back of the room. Now that may be clearer as well.
Then we may have help at hand, Mrs. Alves.
No, this one is okay. No, I have my. No, but this one is fine now. I have my glasses.
Oh, thank you.
But it was too small here.
All right.
Well, thank you, Mr.
Well, thank you very
Anyway.
much anyway. The first page of your witness statement is this. Can I just ask you to look at the last page, which is page 13, please? And if we could just have that blown up so it's a bit bigger.
Yeah.
We can see that the statement is dated the 18th of May, 2018. Can you see the signature there?
Yes.
Can you confirm that that is your signature?
That it is mine. Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to read this statement recently?
Yes, I did.
And can you confirm for us that its contents are true?
Yes, it's true.
Thank you. Now, I also want to read into the record, so formally, the exhibits to the statement. And those are MDFA1 and MDFA2, and the references are IWS 4411 and 4412, respectively. And they're both maps, aerial maps of the tower and the surrounding area which you've marked. Can I then start, having done that, with some general background? Is it right that in June 2017, your family home was flat 105 on the 13th floor of Grenfell Tower?
Yes, it's true.
And you, I think, started living there as a tenant, but then you bought the property together with your husband, Miguel.
That's right.
And that was in, when was that? Do you remember?
May 2001.
Yes. And then I think after that you made it into 3 bedrooms.
Yes, we did.
So you'd been living there 18 years before the fire.
Yes.
Besides your husband and you, who else was living in the flat as at June 2017?
Only 4 of us.
The 4 of you.
Yes.
So that's Tiago, your son.
Tiago, my son, my daughter Inês, my husband Miguel, and myself.
And how old was Tiago at the time?
Tiago was 20, Inês, she was 16, and my husband and
Your husband. Can I ask you about your front door? Do you remember whether at the time of the fire, just before the fire, it had a self-closing mechanism?
No, it wasn't.
No.
No,
Does that mean that the door, if it was open, wouldn't shut itself?
no,
Was it always like that?
yes.
Did the TMO ever come to you and tell you to put a self-closing mechanism on it?
No, when they changed for the new doors, our door was not changed because we were, the flat was ours, so they didn't change our doors.
Right. And on the night of the fire itself, we can turn to that if we can. If you go to your statement and look at paragraph 5, first of all, page 2, you explain in paragraphs 5, 6 and 7 what you did in detail that evening. And just to summarise it, I think you went out for dinner
Yes.
with cousins or relatives
Yes,
from South
cousins,
Africa.
my cousin.
And you went to a Portuguese restaurant
Yes.
nearby called The Village?
Yes, village fair.
Yes. And after dinner, everyone went back to your flat.
Yes.
But Tiago, I think, went...
Yeah, my husband dropped Tiago to meet his girlfriend, but and then he came. It didn't take too long with her,
No.
so he came afterwards. A few.
And I think you go on to say that at about 12:20 a.m., you and Miguel, your husband, left the flat to drive your relatives back to their hotel.
Yes.
And that was, I think you said, in Sussex Gardens.
Yes, it was Sussex.
And then you came back to home.
Yes.
And then you came back home, parked the car, and then walked to the front entrance of the tower. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Now, I just want to show you a CCTV still, which is INQ 393, please. And if we could just have that enlarged a little bit. Just so that you know, that the adjusted time for this is 00 hours, 56 minutes and 12 seconds, so just shortly before 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And can you just tell us what that shows?
Here in the picture, it's me and my husband entered the building.
Right. And so does that accord with your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. When you were walking up to the tower at that time, do you remember whether you saw any signs of smoke or fire?
No, at this moment, no, nothing. Everything was normal.
When you went into the lobby, just after this photograph was taken, do you remember what the temperature in the lobby was like?
It was warm because it was warm outside, but nothing, there was no suspicion of a fire at that point.
Right. Was the temperature warmer than usual, or?
Yeah, the usual, yes.
It was normal?
Yeah.
Could you hear any sounds when you went into the lobby?
No.
And you then say that you got into the lift to go to the 13th floor, which is where your flat is, and two other men got into the lift and pressed the button for that floor. Can I ask you to go to paragraph 10 of your statement, please? We'll just read it together. You say, as the lift door opened at the 4th floor, the two men walked out and turned left out of the lift. They could have been walking to flat 14, 15 or 16, I'm not sure which one. We watched them as they walked out, and in the same direction there was smoke across the ceiling. It was hardly noticeable and was a white, light grey colour in the hallway. I couldn't see where the smoke was coming from. Miguel suddenly said, "There's smoke, there's a fire." My police statement says that I could smell smoke, but I do not recall being asked this, and I have no recollection of smelling anything at this Now, can I just first of all ask you, having shown you that, to look at a floor plan of the 4th floor, and it's MET 0001253 at page 12. That's 0001253, page 12. So, Mrs. Alves, we have a floor plan of the 4th floor of the tower, and we can see the lifts in the section just to the left of the main core,
Yes.
towards the west side. Do you remember which direction the men came out of the lift and went in?
I'm not sure if they went to flat 16 or flat 15. I know when they exit, they turn left.
Yes.
But I can't say. I can't remember. I know them just going onto the left direction, but I didn't see which flat they got in.
Right. And
Or could be the flat flat 4 as well. Either flat 5.
yes.
Either flat 4, 5, or 6.
Now, when the lift doors opened, as you've described in your statement, could you see the lobby area of floor 4 clearly?
Yes.
Were the lights working well?
Yes.
And clearly, right. And you described smoke across the ceiling. Was this the ceiling of the lobby area?
Yes.
And how thick in the ceiling?
It was not
from the
thick. It was
ceiling
just
the
very
smoke?
light smoke.
Right.
White smoke.
Okay. And no smoke at any other level?
No.
Did you hear anything particular?
No.
Now, the lift you were in had a camera. I don't know if you know that, but there was
Yes,
a camera.
yes,
And
I
it's C18. And I want just to show you 2 CCTV stills taken from that camera. The first one is INQ394. If we could just have that up. Now, this is timed at an adjusted time mark of 0 hours, 56 minutes and 38 seconds. Can you describe what you see there, or what you think you see there?
Yeah, it's me and my husband, Miguel. Got into the lift on the basement, on the entrance.
The entrance, the ground floor.
Yes, ground floor.
The ground floor.
Basement, sorry.
Okay, now we've got a second photograph. It's INQ395, please. And this is taken with an adjusted time of 0 hours, 57 minutes and 24 seconds. So it's 6 seconds later. Can you describe for us what we see there?
Yeah, when those two men exit, this is on the 4th floor. When those two men exit from the building, we notice was smoke. After I've seen this footage, I see there's a lot of smoke, but at the moment was, we didn't realize was so much smoke.
Right.
And here we can see, because the camera was higher than us, and then we immediately left the lift.
Yes, I see. Thank you. Yes. And does this photograph accord with your recollection of how much smoke there was at the ceiling level?
It was not much. It was not much, just on the ceiling,
Right.
but it was not a big smoke. No.
No. Do you have a recollection of the smoke coming into the lift as the doors opened?
No. I just remembered, as I said, to see the smoke in
Right.
the ceiling, but here it shows more than on the night of the fire when the doors open.
And do you remember whether the smoke had any effect on you?
Nothing.
Now, in your statement, if we can look at paragraph 11, the next one, you say that Miguel told me to get out of the lift and to take the stairs up to our flat. I couldn't hear any fire alarms. As we were about to go up the stairs, Miguel realized that he'd left his phone in the car, he turned and said to me, "I'll go and get the kids. You go down and get my phone from the car." He told me not to take the lift down, but to walk down the stairs. And then you
Yes.
say in the next paragraph, "I agreed and opened the door to take the stairs." At that stage, did you see anybody else in the communal area?
Yeah, I saw a lady. She was carrying, but I think it was after the door, because there was the whole way where the lifts are, and then there was another door, and then there was the staircase.
Yes.
And I saw a lady with a suitcase with some clothes on her arm, and I helped her bringing the suitcase down.
Okay. Well, we'll come to look at that in a moment. Before we do, I'm talking about the lobby. As soon as you come out of the lift into the lobby area on the
No,
fourth
there
floor,
was
did you
no
see
one.
any-
No.
There was no one. Okay. Did you hear any smoke alarms?
No,
Did you hear any voices?
no,
Did you, and it's maybe difficult, but did you hear any vents operating or air extraction systems
No.
or things like that?
no,
Did you notice any movement of air?
no.
No wind blowing?
I can't remember. No, but I don't, because sometimes there was the ventilation, and we hear that not much, but at this point I don't remember to hear anything,
Right. Okay.
because I never thought was in the beginning when I saw the smoke, I thought maybe it was something burning, but not a fire.
Right. So you didn't. Does that mean you didn't notice?
No, when I
Any-
saw the smoke, it was smoke, but I never thought. I thought maybe it was something burning on the hob, or I never thought it was a major fire. Could
No.
be a major fire.
No. Just to go back to my question again. Do you remember hearing or noticing any smoke ventilation system working or
No, I don't remember to hear anything like that. No,
or movement of air?
no.
Okay. Now, when you came out of the lift, the stairwell will be on your right.
Yes,
Was it you, or was it Miguel? Do you remember who opened the door to the stairwell?
it was Miguel.
It was Miguel. And do you remember whether the door was closed or whether it was open?
No,
a
it
little
was
bit?
closed.
It was closed. So, was Miguel ahead of you then when he went into the stairs? Or did
Yeah,
he open the door
we-
for you and let you
Yeah,
go
yeah.
through first?
No. He opened the door and then he got out of the hallway, and then he said to me to go down because he left his phone in the car in the garage, and he was going up to bring the children down.
Yeah. Did he go first into the stairwell, or did you go first into the stairwell?
No, he went up and I went down.
Yeah. Sorry, maybe.
I don't know.
Did he go through the door first, or did you go?
No,
through
no. He went through the door first. Then yeah.
And did you notice any problems with the door,
No,
like not opening or not shutting properly?
no.
Okay. When you went through it, both of you went through it, did it close behind you? Do you
I
remember?
think so because the door closed. I believe so.
And when you went into the stairwell, do you remember whether there was any smoke in the stairs?
I don't remember, but I don't think at this point was any smoke, unless when we opened the door, the smoke came out through the door. But at this point, if there was any smoke, it was very, very small.
Okay. And do you remember whether you felt when you got into the stairwell whether there was any movement of air or any sound of a fan or vent going?
I don't remember,
Okay.
but I don't think it was any ventilation. But I can't say, it was or wasn't,
No.
because I don't remember.
Now, no, thank you.
No.
Now, in the next paragraph, paragraph 12, still on page 3 of your statement, you describe encountering a woman on the stairs. You say, as I approached the landing to descend the stairs, I saw a woman. I can't quite remember what she looked like, and I wouldn't be able to recognize her again, but I believe she was in her late 30s, olive-skinned, and about my height. She had a large wheeled suitcase with her, and she was trying to carry it down the stairs with some coats or clothing balanced on her other arm. And you said, I can help, and you helped her. First of all, when you say, as I approached the landing, to descend the stairs. Could you just describe what you mean by the landing?
It was halfway the stairs down.
Okay, I understand. So down one flight.
Yeah, because it was the stairs, and then there was a door at the end, and then there was the new stairs they built after the refurbishment. So I think it was up to there, and then the lady stayed there. I thought I helped her downstairs to the ground floor, but after I've seen the footage, I left her there, and then someone else helped her to bring the suitcase down.
Okay, well, we can look at some pictures. First of all, can we look at INQ 62? Now, this is a picture taken from the CCTV outside the boxing club. And the adjusted time we have for it is 00 hours, 59 minutes and 12 seconds. So just before 1 a.m. Can you identify yourself in that picture?
Yes, with orange blouse,
Right.
dark jeans, and
And the lady with the suitcase, can we see her there?
yes. Yes, is the one over there with...
She's on your right, is she? I think that's where you're pointing.
Pardon?
She's on your right.
Yes.
That's where you were pointing.
Yeah.
Okay. And can we see the suitcase? I think we can. Is that the silver object, the
Yes,
suitcase?
yes.
Okay. We may get a better view of that in the next picture, Mr. Documents Director. That's INQ 63, which has a adjusted time mark of 3 seconds later at 00:59:15. That may be a better picture. Is that as you recall it, the lady with the suitcase?
Yes.
Right. Now, you then say in your statement that you continue to make your way down the stairs to the ground floor, as you do in paragraph 12. And we have a picture of, I think, you doing that. It's INQ 396. If we can just have that enlarged. Can you identify yourself in that picture?
Yes, it's
That's you.
myself. Yes.
That has, as I say, an adjusted time mark of 1 a.m. and 16 seconds. Sorry, adjusted to 59:40. So the adjusted time for that is 00 hours, 59 minutes and 40 seconds. So just after you'd encountered the lady with the suitcase.
Yeah.
My question is, on your way down to the bottom of the stairs, did you come across any smoke?
No.
No smoke. Did you come across any other people, apart from the lady with the suitcase?
I don't think so. I don't remember, but I don't think so.
Okay. Now, in your statement, if we just go to paragraph 15, if we could jump ahead to page 4, you say there's a photo of me coming down the stairs which was included in the police statement. This photo was taken at 1 a.m. and 16 seconds, which I think was just after I'd left the firefighters. Given what we've been looking at this afternoon, Mrs. Alves, and the photographs we've been looking at, do you think that's now right? That it was after the firefighters, or did you come down the stairs then before seeing the firefighters?
I still don't know.
Okay.
I think I came down, and then when this picture was when I first came down, and then I met the firefighters at the entrance.
Right.
And then I went up again with the firefighters. I think that picture is when I first came down.
Yes. Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Well, I think with that might be clearer as we look at some more pictures, which we're going to do next. So if we can, in fact, look at INQ 397, I'll just show you this. This is another CCTV still. And again, formal question really. Can you identify yourself in that picture?
Yes, it's
That's
me.
you. And this is at an adjusted time now of 0:59:53. So 13 seconds after we saw you coming down the stairs. Can you describe what you're doing there?
This I was buzzing up my husband to say, but at this point I have spoke already with the firefighters.
Well, there's another photograph we're going to look at in a minute, which shows you buzzing the buzzer.
Yeah, because I buzzed my husband after I spoke with the firefighter when he said to me to, to tell my family to stay in the flat.
Right.
So.
Okay. Well, let's see how we go. Do you think that's after we?
I think so, but I'm not sure.
No.
But okay. I think it was after I opened the door for the first firefighters.
Okay. Well, do you remember what you were doing? Buzzing
Here.
Up? Yes.
Yeah, I was buzzing up, yeah, for sure. This is for sure.
Can I just ask you about this buzzer? When you press the button, what happens?
I have to press 105 and then the button says call.
Okay.
And this is what I
And what happens when you do that?
Normally the person answered, but at that moment I couldn't hear anyone, so I didn't hear my husband answer. But and then he said later on that he answered the phone at home, but I didn't reply. Maybe I didn't wait enough at the entrance. It was a miscommunication.
I'm just interested in how this buzzer system worked. When you press the buzzer, 105 call, what happens in the flat? Does the phone?
Yeah, the phone rings in the flat.
And then it has to be answered, does it?
Yes.
You can't broadcast into the flat?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
you
to speak
have
to
to
somebody
answer. You have to lift the handle of the phone and speak.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's
You're
helpful.
welcome.
Now, you then say in paragraph 13 of your statement, if we can just go back a page to that, you say, I was just waiting by the main entrance door for Miguel when I saw more than 4 firefighters arrive. I held the door open for them to let them in, to let them get inside the tower. One of the firefighters asked if he could use my fob key, but I said that I needed them as it had my keys, including my keys for my job on it. I said I could open the door for them instead. Do you think that conversation was before or after the time when you buzzed the intercom?
It was before.
You think it was before?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember who made the decision whether you and your family should leave the tower?
It was my husband.
Okay. Now, we'll come back to this sequence of movement and the fob key in a minute, but I just want to ask you one or two other questions about the building. Could you please be shown INQ 93? INQ number 93. Let me try another one.
Seems as
I've
difficult.
drawn a blank. Never mind. Let me try something different. Can I please ask you to be shown BLA quadruple 02416? If this can be shown the right way round. Thank you. Now, this is a notice that is entitled Fire Action Grenfell Tower. This one, I think, comes from the lifts at floor 3, Mrs. Alves. But do you remember seeing a notice like this anywhere in the building?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Was there one on your floor?
Yes.
There was. Did you ever read it?
I remember read it, but I don't remember what. Well, we read, but I don't remember what it was now written on it. But it was something about fire, yeah.
Okay. And did you, leaving aside the notice, what was your understanding on the night of the fire as to what you should do in the event of a fire in the building?
Exit,
Exit.
yes,
Okay.
from the building,
That was your understanding, was it?
yes.
Okay. Did you ever read let me show it to you. There's a series of red and green blocks in this notice, and just above halfway down, if we just expand it, Mr. Documents Director, it says, if you are safely within your block and there is a fire elsewhere in the block, and then we need the green text as well, it says you should initially be safe to stay in your flat, keeping the doors and windows closed. On arrival, the fire brigade will make an assessment and will assist with evacuation if required. If you wish to evacuate, leave closing the door behind you and use the staircase to exit the building. Do you remember knowing that that was the advice that had been given to you in the event of a fire in Grenfell Tower?
What do you mean, after reading that?
Yes.
Yeah, as I said, I read that when they first put on next to the lifts, but I don't remember what it was written afterwards, because I think we never thought that a fire is going to happen.
No.
Yeah.
But as you said before, you thought
Yeah.
exit was your...
Yeah.
Okay. And apart from this notice, were you ever aware of any advice being given to you or other residents about what to do in the event of a fire in the block?
No, I remember once the firefighters came into our flat and they was giving fire smoke alarms.
Right.
And they fixed one on my corridor, but and then a few months later it fell down, fell down from the ceiling.
Right.
And then I stick it on the wall and it fell down again, and then I went to the firefighter to exchange for a new one, and I had it in my flat.
Right.
But never anyone came and gave advice in case of a fire.
Okay. And where was it in your flat on the night of the fire? The smoke alarm.
It was on the left, I think on top of there was a cupboard between the kitchen and the toilet, and it was on top of that door.
Okay.
Cupboard door.
Now, can I take you to paragraph 13 of your statement, which is on page 3? You say, I was just waiting by the main entrance door for Miguel. We've read this before. It's about your discussion with the firefighters. And you say you couldn't give them your fob. Can I show you another picture? It's INQ 96. Now, the adjusted time for this, Mrs. Alves, is 1 a.m., 1 minute and 55 seconds. So 1 minute and 55 seconds past 1 a.m. I'm sorry, I've given you a wrong time. It's 1 a.m. and 50 seconds as an adjusted time, so 50 seconds past 1 a.m. Do you know what you're doing in this picture? Well, sorry, can you identify yourself in this picture, first of all?
Yes, it's me. Yeah, I was open the door with my fob.
Right.
And let the firefighters in.
Okay.
And this is the second door. And then after this door was the lifts.
Right.
There was a hole.
Okay. And
I could have given the fob, but at this point, when they asked, can I have your key? I thought, well, I'm not going to give all my key. But I did at this time, I didn't realize, I could just give the fob. It was silly of me, but I didn't realize
yes.
I could give my fob.
No. Do you remember who asked you for the fob?
It was one of the firefighters. I don't know.
Was he wearing a white helmet or a yellow helmet?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Were you surprised to be asked by the fire brigade for your fob to get into the building?
Yeah, because I thought, all the buildings, if an event of a fire, I thought the firefighters would have like a master fob to open all the buildings, because if someone ring at my bell at 2 o'clock in the morning, says, I'm the firefighter, open the door for me, I don't know if I was going to open. Because once I had at 5 o'clock in the morning, someone said, I'm the police officer, could you open the door for me? I said, I'm sorry, you can't prove you are a police officer, I'm not going to open the door for you, and I didn't. So I assumed the firefighters had like a master fob for all the buildings to get into the building in case of a fire.
Yes. Is there any way the firefighters could have got through that door without
No.
a fob? And once they'd gone through that door, could they come back through that door without a fob?
Yeah, if they come back, yes, but then if they want to get in again, no.
Yes. Now, we can see that in this picture, just above where the firefighters and you are standing, there is a gallery, a mezzanine floor there.
Yes.
Would you need a fob key to get to that?
Yes.
And could you just point out on this photograph, if
Yeah,
you
the
can?
one on top of where where the firefighters are, just
Yes.
on top.
I
This
see.
they need a key, and this when I got into the stairs and opened that door for them, because otherwise they couldn't go
Right.
in for the staircase.
And what about the door on the right of the picture, by the green wall, that takes you to the foot of the stairs? Do you need a fob to get through that door as well?
That one here, glass door.
Yes.
Yes, we need a fob as well.
I see. So all three doors we can see on this picture need a fob.
Yes.
And your one fob works for all three doors, does it?
Yes.
Or did? Right.
Actually, it was the first time I used that glass door on that night.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Now, going ahead with CCTV, we then have a photo which is INQ 400. And this shows a timestamp of adjusted of 1 a.m. and 1 minute and 55 seconds. So that's about a minute and 5 seconds after the last picture we've seen where you're helping the firefighters in through the door with your fob. Can you tell us what's happening in this picture?
I was trying to listen to my husband answer the buzzer.
Right. So we've got two pictures of you by the intercom. This one, timed at 01:01:55, and as an adjusted time, and the earlier one we saw.
Also, they are two different
Yes.
features. Oh, I see.
Because that one, the earlier one we looked at, do you remember, was timed
Yeah.
at 59 minutes and 53 seconds after midnight. So there's a good 2 minutes or so which separates these two pictures, working on the adjusted times we've done. On the basis of that 2 minutes, and you can also see hoses there now in the picture.
Yeah, so probably after when I came down to open the door for the staircase, it was probably that when I buzzed my husband.
Right.
I don't know if it was for the second time, I can't remember.
No, okay.
Probably was.
Yeah. And looking back at these pictures now, do you remember more clearly whether you had the conversation with the firefighters after the first time you tried to speak to Miguel on the intercom?
I think when I
before?
came down the first time and I reached the front door, I saw the first fire engine arrive. And then I thought, well, I'm going to wait here at the door, to let them in. And then I asked them, but I can't remember if it was at that point or after I went to open the doors and then came back to the entrance again. I can't remember. But I remember to ask one of the firefighters. I think it was at the second time. I think it was at this time because they were just spreading the hoses on the floor. And I said, is that safe to stay in the building? And he said to me, no, you stay here. And then I said, yeah, but my husband and my children are upstairs in the flat. And he asked me, which floor? I said, 13. And he said to me, tell them to stay in, close doors and windows, and stay in. And it was probably when I tried to buzz my husband, say to stay inside.
And did you succeed in getting hold of Miguel?
No.
So he came down?
Thank God, yeah. But he said to me, even if I say that to stay inside, he would come down.
Now, yeah, thank you. Can I show you another CCTV image? And this one is INQ 402. Now this one has a time, an adjusted time mark of 01:02:19. So this is about a minute or so after, about 25 seconds after the last one we've seen, where you were outside using the intercom. This is about almost 30 seconds later. Can you tell us what you're doing in that picture?
I was going with the firefighters. I had the fob in my right hand. The blue thing is my fob.
That's it, is it? The blue thing?
Yeah, I was going to open the door for them at the top of the stairs, just next to the boxing club,
Okay.
on the left.
So, I see. So, before this, did you put the firefighters through the door into the lift lobby?
Yes.
And were there other firefighters that you took through the glass door?
And then I think I came again to the front door, and then there was more firefighters, and then I opened the door. They said I was going through the staircase, and then I opened the glass door at the ground floor, and then up the stairs.
Yes, I see. That's very clear. And we can see two firefighters in there with you. Were there any others that we can't see, do you think?
I don't remember.
Okay, fair enough. So you had to use your fob key more than once to allow firefighters in?
Yes.
2 batches, effectively. One through the lift. Is this
4
right?
doors, at least 4 doors to open It was the front door, the main building door, and then the door who leads into the lifts. And then there's the glass door on my right, and then up the stairs, the top one to lead them into the staircase.
Yes, I see. After that, did you need to use your fob to let any more firefighters in?
No, because when I came down, I went to it was a couple with I think it was 2 girls, and then they were sitting, and the girls were shivering, and then I went to the garage to bring some clothes for them, and then they left the doors open, I assume. And then they didn't let us go in, so they said and then I stayed outside.
Right. Let's go outside then, if we can. You, I think, leave the tower, and Miguel and the children come down. How long after, do you think, after you had let the firefighters in for the second time, the second batch of firefighters, did Miguel and Tiago Inez come down?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't think it was too long. I don't know, maybe no more than 5 minutes. I have no idea, but I don't think it was more than, I don't know, between 5 and 10. I have no idea.
Okay. Now, you, in your statement, you say on page 5, if I can just show you paragraph 21, you described there in some detail about your concerns about a neighbour João.
Yeah, João, yeah.
I'm pleased to have got that right, João. And he's a neighbour in flat 104?
Yes.
And you hadn't seen him come out of the tower, so you were concerned about him?
Yeah, because when my husband came down, he said he woke up all the neighbors. And I was trying to see if I knew all the neighbors from our floor to coming out of the building. And I remember to see the Spanish family, Dorinda and her husband. And I remember to see Adriana and husband and the 2 children. And then I said to Miguel, but the neighbor who lives on 101 is not, I didn't see him. And then my husband said he's on holiday. And then I said, well, I didn't see the family from 102, which is the Eritrean family. And my husband said, they left, I saw them out. So, and then I was thinking, well, so is everybody out? So João is not here. And Miguel said, I knock on the door, and then I open the door. and I shout for him. And he said the bicycle from Francisco was not there because Francisco was working in a hotel. And then I asked my husband for his phone, and I tried to ring João, and he didn't answer, and I was, ringing. And then he picked up the phone, and I said, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm in bed." Because sometimes he was not staying in the flat, he was staying with other friends. And then I said, "Well, there's a fire in the building, get out." And then
You
he
said
was,
get out?
Yeah, this was João, yeah.
Right. So you said to him, get out?
Yeah, and then he was panicking. I said, "You don't need to panic." He said, "Don't leave the phone, continue talking to me," because I said, "Don't panic."
Right. Okay. Now, can I ask you to look at paragraph 22? You say, and I'll read it all to you, "I looked up at the side of the tower. The inside of flat 16 was dark, but I could see smoke. I saw more firefighters arrive and spread their hoses on the floor. They tested them briefly. Then the family, who I gave the jumpers to the children, approached them. They were talking to them at the time the window fell from flat 16. There was a sudden flash like lightning. I saw the window explode and the glass shatter. I saw flames shoot out of the window. It was coming out and burning onto the outside cladding about 3 feet high. This must have been around 1:15 a.m. Now, you, I think, have marked on your map where you were at this time. Can we just have a look at that? It's IWS 441, page 1. If we could just swivel that round. So if we can enlarge it, can you just describe for us in a bit more detail, Mrs. Alves, where you were standing when you saw the window explode?
So Grenfell, I was, where the cross.
Yes. So you were to the east of the, or southeast of the tower. Did you have a good? My question is, did you have a good view of the window?
Yeah. I was just outside,
Right.
facing the leisure centre.
Right. Were you standing on the grass?
Yes.
You were on the grass, not on the.
Not on the grass. At that moment, I wasn't on the grass. I was on the pavement.
Right.
Because there was two concrete stools,
Yes.
and this couple were there with the girls, and I was next to them.
Okay. Now you described smoke here in the inside of flat 16. Could you see where that smoke was inside the flat?
I don't know. I saw through the window, but I can't.
Right.
I remember seeing inside the window.
At that moment, when you looked up and saw smoke, did you see the exterior on fire?
No, there was no fire exterior.
Did you see anything happen to the window frame before the window fell?
I don't think so.
Okay. And you go on to say there was a sudden flash like lightning.
Yes.
Could you? What was the colour of the flash?
Orange, yellow. I believe it was that
Really?
color. Yeah.
And you say you saw the window explode and the glass shatter. When you say it exploded, could you just describe the explosion for us?
Yeah, I heard a crack, and then the window, glass fell on the floor, and I assume it was the window, the glass, or the whole, frame of the window, but it was the window.
And then you say, I saw flames shoot out of the window. Did they come out of the window space where the glass had been?
Yes, it was, was the window, and then the flames, it was just coming upwards.
Right. Okay.
On top of the window.
On top of the window?
Yes.
Did you see fire coming out from anywhere else around the window?
Fires.
Yes, flames. Did you see flames coming out from anywhere else around the window? You didn't. And when you say they were the flames were shooting out of the window, how far out of the window did the flames come?
How far?
Yeah.
Sorry, what do you mean, how far?
What distance? So if you've got the window here and the flames came out of the window.
Oh no, it was not coming this way. It was coming
upwards.
Up, yeah.
Okay. How far upwards from the window do you think the flames went when you first saw
I don't
it?
know, because this point, I think we couldn't see too much flames outside. It was, you know, I saw flames. How can I explain? Yeah, it was the flames from the fire inside the window, and then I was reaching up, and then I was waiting and see where is the, you know, the firefighters to tackle on the fire, and yeah, but it was quite high. I don't know, maybe a meter high or less.
Right.
The flames, yeah.
And did you see, well, let me ask you this. After you saw the flames first coming out of the window, what happened? What was the next thing that happened with the flames?
I remember seeing crackling, and I remember seeing like droppings of melting plastic dropping on the floor. And I remember seeing a yellow bin, the big yellow bin, and this like melting plastic was falling on top of that bin. And I said to Miguel, if they don't remove this bin, soon they're going to catch fire from the ground up as well. Yeah, so it was like, you know, crackling and droppings of melting plastic on flames.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you, when you looked up, could you see the fire starting to burn the exterior, the cladding on the exterior of the building?
I think so. I assume so, because it was a lot of flames. And I remember to seeing like was piece of papers falling down like that. This I didn't know, and then I realized was the cladding from outside.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just flying like that, like a piece of paper on fire.
Yes.
On the floor.
And what noise did it make? Do you remember? The fire?
I don't know. I remember the crackling and the, you know, the noise of the fire.
Yes. Yes. Now, Mrs. Alves, I've come to the end of the questions I wanted to ask you, but there may be a few more which, having looked at my notes again, I may want to ask you. So I'm going to ask the Chairman to take a short break if I can. Mr. Chairman, is that convenient?
Yes, shall we, how long do you like? 10 minutes?
10 minutes, yes.
Yes. Well, Mrs. Alves, it does happen from time to time that Council finds there are more questions that he should have asked you. So we'll have a break now.
Okay.
Anyway, we've been running for an hour, so you're probably welcome a break anyway. And when you come back, then we'll see if there really are any more questions.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
So we'll rise now and return at 3:05.
Okay.
And I have to ask you not to talk to anyone about your evidence while you're out of the room. All right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you'd like to go with the usher, she'll look after you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, 3:05 then, please. Thank you. Well, yes, Mr. Millett.
I have no further questions. in fact.
No further
No.
questions? Right. Well, I think we better invite Mrs. Alves back in just to thank her and tell her there
Yes.
aren't any more questions.
Yes.
Right. We'll just take a seat. Right. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Millett.
Mrs. Alves, thank you for coming back to us. You'll be glad to know I don't have any further questions for you, and therefore it remains for me to thank you very much for your assistance to the inquiry today. It's very important that we get your evidence, and you've given us a lot of useful and interesting further evidence on top of your statement. Before we let you go, I would like you, if you want to tell the chairman whether there's anything else about the night and the events of that night which you can remember, in addition to your statement and what you told us today, that you think it would be important for the chairman to know.
That people's lives could be saved
Thank you.
if they were evacuated. Yeah.
Well, Mrs. Alves, we're all very grateful to you for coming along to tell us about your experience. It's only from people like you who were present at the time that we can really find out what the conditions were like inside the building. So, as I say, it's very valuable evidence, and we're very grateful to you for coming along.
You're
And
welcome.
Helped us a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
And now you're free to go, so if you'd like to go with the usher, she'll look
Thank
after
you
you.
very much.
All right. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Willett.
Mr. Chairman, there are now some statements I need to read into the record,
Yes.
which follow on from the witnesses we've heard today already. This won't take too long, but it isn't an instantaneous exercise. If I can.
Well, it's all important material.
It is important material. So
you
what
don't
I'm going
need
to
rush it.
No, I'm grateful. What I'm going to do is to read the statements into the record with a brief background summary, and then give some context to what those witnesses tell us in writing.
Yes.
And also add to that by reading out parts of the statement where they're particularly relevant or particularly illuminating. I start with Jamie Murray, and that is inquiry statement reference IWS 1008, with two exhibits, JM1, IWS 1012, which is a fire and smoke description, and JM2, which is IWS 1014, which is a plan of the area around Grenfell Tower.
Yes.
She lived in flat 15 on floor 4 with her husband Mahad Egal, who's also given a statement, and their two young children, Vega Lily and Zakaria. To give some context to that, I'm going to read some parts of the statement. They were all at home in their flat on the night of the fire. Mm-hmm. The children were asleep in bed, and Mrs. Murray had just finished her dinner with her husband when they heard a banging on the door. Mr. Egal answered the door and then told her that there was a fire, and he gave her a wet towel, and they went to pick up their children, as they did, and they carried them out to safety. Can I read from paragraph 19 of Jamie Murray's statement? I'll read paragraphs 19 and 20 and a part of 21 and 26. 19, she says, when we stepped into the fourth floor hallway, I could see smoke. I remember that the lights were on and I could see okay, but there was a light grey smoke hazing throughout the corridor. There was a strong smell of smoke, but I didn't have any difficulty breathing, and I was taking fast, panicked breaths. I've been shown a smoke and fire descriptor chart by my solicitor, which I exhibit as JM1, and the state of the smoke was somewhere between pictures B and C. I remember looking to my right, towards flat 14, and seeing that the door was shut and Abdul was standing outside. He was looking panicked, but I can't remember him saying anything. When I looked the other way, I could see that the door to flat 16 was open and smoke was coming out. All you could see in the doorway of flat 16 was light grey smoke billowing out and moving quickly as though there was a draft. From the moment I turned away from flat 16, I remember just focusing on Mahad's back, and I didn't see anyone else. As we left the 4th floor hallway and went out into the stairwell, there was much less smoke, but I remember the smoke coming out behind us in drafts every time that we opened a door and went into a new area. We went down the stairs, and I remember it felt drafty, and light smoke was blowing behind us. It had always been drafty on the stairwell, and when it was windy outside, you could hear the wind howling on the stairwell. And then at paragraph 26, she says, when we got to the lobby part, I could see firefighters were entering the main door. I can't recall how many. I just felt relieved because they were there. We went past them, and as we were leaving, one of the firefighters requested a key fob. Mahad gave them his fob. I remember Mahad saying to the firefighter, remember me, I'm the young man, those are my keys. And there's a word redacted between young and man, as we can see. And her statement is dated the 10th of August 2018 and is, as always, provided under a statement of truth.
And in common with other statements, it will form part, the whole of the statement will form part of the evidence and will be taken into consideration.
Yes, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
absolutely. And I should just finish by saying that she is seen on the CCTV to have exited the tower at 0 hours, 59 minutes and 48 seconds as adjusted.
Yeah.
The next statement I would wish to read into the record is that of her husband, Mahad Eagle. And he, like her, was a resident of flat 15 on the 4th floor at the time of the fire. His statement is IWS 1010, and he has provided 3 exhibits. ME1, which is IWS 1013, ME2, which is IWS 1009, and ME3, which is IWS 1011.
Yeah.
And I just want to read 2 paragraphs from that statement, if I may, paragraphs 32 and 33. At 32, he says, when you get to the bottom of the stairs, there are 2 doors. One is a fire exit door to the right, and this leads straight outside. I have had sight of a CCTV still, which I exhibit as ME2, and this shows the door to the right. The other door is to the left and leads into a glass-panelled area, which in turn leads to the main entrance. I cannot remember why I didn't exit through the fire door, but in general, residents would never use that door, so it may have been that it didn't occur to me in the panic of the moment. To get out through the glass doors, however, you need a fob, and I remember some moments of panic when I thought we were trapped, until I found my fob in the pocket of my trousers. Once we got into the main lobby area, I could see that there were 4 firefighters there. They were carrying a big red object between them. As we went out through the door, I remember that one of the firefighters, who I assumed was senior because he had a silver insignia on his shoulder, was asking in a general way if anyone had a key they could give him. I gave him my key, and I remember telling him to remember to give the key back to me, and to remember that the key belongs to a young descriptor man. At this point, I was expecting that the fire would soon be put out, and we would have to get back in using our key. To the best of my recollection, at this point, the senior firefighter was just outside the main door. Mr. Eagle exited the tower at the same time as his wife and children at 0 hours, 59 minutes and 48 seconds. His statement is dated the 10th of August, also with a statement of truth, and like that of Jamie Murray, all of it will stand as evidence to the inquiry, and Mr. Chairman will be taken into account. The next statement is that of Alison Moses. She lived alone in flat 11 on floor 4. She exited the tower at 01 hours, 7 minutes and 45 seconds. Her inquiry witness statement is IWS 301. And to put a little bit into context, she had lived in flat 11 on the 4th floor of Grenfell Tower for some 13 years. She was at home alone on the night of the fire when she heard some banging on her front door. And I can pick it up at paragraph 9 of her statement and just read a few paragraphs, 9 to 14, which provide some useful information. I was wearing a T-shirt, she says, so I fetched my dressing gown and put this on. I opened my front door and saw my neighbour from flat 16, who was banging on flat 12, and then started banging on other doors on the 4th floor. He looked at me and said there had been a fire. He was frantic, distraught, and panicky, which I thought was normal behaviour for a fire. I did not smell anything and did not see any signs of a fire. I walked back into my flat to get my keys. I already had my mobile phone on me. I walked straight into the sitting room, and only when I walked back into the sitting room could I smell smoke, but it was not enough to worry me at the time. My kitchen window and living room window were open. I thought about closing them, but because they can be difficult to close, I decided not to. I returned to the communal landing of the floor, and my neighbour, David, from flat 12, was there. I told him that there had been a fire, and he needs to wake his partner, Zoe, as she has to come out. I did not see anyone else on the landing. The lights on the landing were on at the time, and I could still not smell smoke. I closed the door to my flat behind me and pulled the handle up which locks the door. I made my way to the stairwell, as I knew not to take the lift when there is a fire. The door to the stairs was ajar, and it did not shut behind me after I had gone through it. In early 2017, the spring to this door broke, and it would make a loud banging sound every time someone used it. I reported this to the TMO at the time, who fixed it. I'm not sure what they did to the door. The slamming stopped, but the door was always ajar and never shut after that. And her statement is dated as we can see from the last page, the 18th of May 2018, under a statement of truth. And again, Mr. Chairman, her statement will stand in full as evidence to the inquiry and be taken into account in full. The next statement I would wish to read into the record is that of Zoe Denton. She lived in the tower in flat 12 on the 4th floor with her mother Jenny Denton and her sister Leah Weeks. On the night of the fire, she was in the flat with her boyfriend David Benjamin. Her mother and her sister were visiting her grandmother nearby, and Zoe left the tower at 01:13 and 37 seconds. Her statement is IWS 0806, and there are 5 exhibits, ZLD1 to 5 respectively, which have an inquiry reference of IWS 800, 801, 802, 803 and 804. Zoe had lived in flat 12 on the 4th floor since she was 4 or 5 years old, and that's what she says at paragraph 25 of her statement. I would just read paragraph 47 of her statement into the record. I'm going to read down to paragraph 58, which is quite a passage, but worth you having at the forefront of your mind, Mr. Chairman. She says, paragraph 47, at around 1 a.m. I woke up to someone banging on our front door. I did not know who it was, but I now know it was Mahad from flat 15. David and I both got up and went to the front door to see what was happening. David looked out of the spy hole and saw 2 people running down the communal stairwell. He did not recognise them. We opened the door, and I saw my neighbour, Alison, from flat 11, who was standing in the landing. She said that there had been a fire, babe. I think she said that the fire was in flat 16. At this point, I could not see or smell smoke, but I thought I could smell gas. I did not see anyone else in the communal area at this time. I shut the front door and walked into the kitchen area. I remember the notices around the building saying that if there was a fire in the building to stay in your flat, so I thought that was the best thing to do. When I was smoking at the kitchen window, I saw my neighbour Mahad, who lives at flat 15. He was walking across the grass towards the leisure centre with his children. I could not see his wife, but I knew she would be with him and the kids. There were also a few other people outside. At this time, I did not see any evidence of a fire or any smoke from my window. I did not hear anyone screaming to get out or other commotion. I called Alison a few minutes later on her phone. She answered and said that she was already outside and told me to get out. I walked to the front door and opened it for the second time to see what was happening. When I did, I saw 2 male firefighters standing in the communal area. I think they were trying to access the dry riser, and either there wasn't any water or they couldn't access it. They just looked at me but didn't say anything, but we made eye contact. I saw a red, heavy-looking object with them, but I do not know what this was. I could smell and see a thin layer of smoke above head height in the communal area. It was like cigarette smoke. I was surprised that the firefighters did not say anything to me. I closed the front door and decided that we should leave immediately. I grabbed my phone and door keys, and David took his phone and his bank card. I was in my pyjamas and put on a dressing gown and the first pair of shoes that I could find, my Nike sandals. At this point, I did not think we would be outside for more than half an hour. There was no smoke in our flat. When we opened the front door for the third time to leave, I could now see that the landing was full of thick black smoke. It had only been a few minutes since we had last opened the front door. I was shocked how quickly this had happened. I could not see my hands in front of me, let alone the fire door. I could only just see the communal lighting. I did not see the fireman, who I had seen by the dry riser before. I was very scared. The smoke alarm by Lair's room started to go off. David went in front of me, and I closed the front door before heading to the fire door using my memory. This was located on the right, about 4 or 5 steps away from my front door. I knew not to use the lifts in the event of a fire. My eyes were stinging, and I inhaled some smoke when we were leaving the flat, which left a horrible taste in my mouth. It was difficult to breathe, so I put my dressing gown over my mouth and nose. I heard crackling sounds in the communal area. It was like popcorn or a campfire with crackling wood. I could not hear or see anyone else on the landing. I was scared and alarmed by all the smoke. The communal area was hot. When we opened the door to the communal stairwell, there was a fireman with a hose. I don't know where the hose came from. I told him to check that I had closed my front door. He acknowledged my comment, but did not say anything. The stairwell was completely clear from smoke, and it was not hot. I could still smell the smoke, but couldn't see it. I couldn't smell gas anymore either. However, I just wanted to get out of the building as quickly as possible. And as I say, they left the tower at 1:13:37.
Right.
Her statement will also stand, of course, as evidence to the inquiry in full, and it stands under a statement of truth dated the 1st of July 2018,
Yes,
Mr.
thank you.
Chairman. The next statement is that of David Andrew Benjamin. As you've probably just heard, he's the boyfriend of Zoe Denton, who lived in flat 12 on the 4th floor. He visited the tower often and was present in the flat on the 14th of June with Zoe on that night. The reference to his statement is IWS 0876, and he evacuated with her at the same time at 01:13:34. There are just 1 or 2 paragraphs I want to pick up, if I may, to read out aloud. At paragraph 14, in a passage which starts at paragraph 11 under the heading "The Flat," he describes the flat, and he says this at paragraph 14. The front door was replaced, but I do not remember when, but it was before the cladding, window replacement and gas supply works. The new door was not self-closing, and you would have to pull it shut. The new door felt light compared to my own flat door. The letterbox would snap back when opened and had brushes inside. I was not aware of any damage to the front door prior to the fire. And then at paragraph 21 he says, there were no sprinklers. The fire extinguishers, which used to be next to the dry riser in the communal landing, were removed during the recent refurbishment. I do not know why. And at 26 he says, before the last refurbishment there used to be a concierge downstairs in the lobby, but this disappeared, which was a real shame. And then he expresses an opinion about that, which I don't need to read. And then at paragraph 64, he says, and I'll read till 67 inclusively, in describing his exit, he says, I went to the front door with Zoe behind and opened it the slightest bit. There was thick black smoke everywhere, diagram E of smoke picture descriptors. My initial thought was that the fire must have spread. I slammed the door shut and got my hoodie and trainers on. Zoe put on her dressing gown and flip-flops. We then left with just the clothes that we were wearing and our phones, nothing else. The smoke in the communal landing was thick and black. This meant I could not see anything in front of me, including my hands or feet. I could not breathe. I was shocked how rapidly things had changed in such a short space of time. It must only have been about 10 to 15 minutes since we'd been woken up by loud banging on our door. It was incredibly scary. There did not appear to be any firefighters on the landing, although I would not have been able to have seen them because of the smoke. It was incredibly hot, so I assumed that the fire must have spread onto the landing. And, Mr. Chairman, that statement will also in full stand as evidence to the inquiry in its entirety to be taken into account, and it stands under a statement of truth provided on the 29th of June 2018, as we can see from page 18 of that statement. The next statement I wish to read into the record is that of Jenny Denton. She is a resident of flat 12, Grenfell Tower, on the 4th floor. She had lived there for some 25 years prior to the fire, and she lived there with Zoe Denton and Leah Weeks. She was staying with her mother and her daughter Leah Weeks in the area on the night of the fire and returned after the fire had started. Her statement to the inquiry is IWS 0939, which I read into the record, and she's provided two exhibits, JD1 and JD2, under reference IWS 0936 and 0937, respectively. And I don't think there's anything I need specifically from the statement to read. Oh, perhaps paragraph 37 is worth just picking out under the heading Fire Safety. Yes. She says, despite living at Grenfell Tower for 25 years, I was never given any safety information, fire safety information, from either RBKC or the TMO on what to do in the event of a fire. I did not know where any assembly points were, and we never had a fire drill. To my knowledge, there was no communal fire alarm or pre-recorded message to warn residents about a fire. There were no sprinklers. I often wondered what we were supposed to do in the event of a fire because we had never been told. I'm also not aware of any fire checks being undertaken by the London Fire Brigade at Grenfell Tower. Then she says, at 39, during the refurbishment, I believe a new sign appeared telling you to stay put in the event of a fire. It was located by the lifts in the main foyer at ground level, but I do not remember seeing this sign on the 4th floor. In any event, I wouldn't have personally followed this advice. And her statement stands to the inquiry again in its entirety and will be taken into account in full, Mr. Chairman. And it's dated the 16th of July 2018 under a statement of truth.
Yes, thank you.
And then finally, Mr. Chairman, we have the statement from Eamon Zarda. He lived alone in flat 54 on floor 8 of Grenfell Tower. He's 36 years old, or was at the time he made his statement, and Grenfell Tower had always been his home until the night of the fire. When he was 10, his parents separated and his mum left, and he became a young carer for his dad after his dad had a stroke, and then his father died when he was 15 years old in 1997. He was always lived in the tower, as I say, and was supported by other residents. And I now want to put into the record his inquiry statement, which is IWS 0989, and he has 4 exhibits to that, EZ 1, 2, 3 and 4, respectively at IWS 978, 979, 980 and 982. And his statement is provided under a statement of truth, which is dated the 19th of July 2018. And again, Mr. Chairman, his statement will stand in its entirety as evidence to the inquiry. I've just noted that there is actually something in the statement that I just want to read aloud into the record, if I may. And that's at paragraph 30. At the very end, he says, after having described the vents that existed inside the building prior to the refurbishment, he says that halfway down there was a main ventilation vent for the stairway. The stairway was always drafty and cool. Even in the summer, it was concrete cool. When it was windy, you could hear a howl in the staircase. I remember some people smoking cigarettes on the stairway, and the smoke would just disappear. After the refurbishment, that all changed. The vent was covered over when the new flats were built. The stairways became hot, stuffy and airless. If someone had a cigarette, the smoke would stay and linger. And I'm asked by Mr. Rawat just to pick up the fact that he lived in flat 54 and then moved to flat 53 when he was a year old. So I think I started by saying he lived in flat 54. He had done, but only for a year of his life before moving to flat 53. Yes. So it's flat 53 that's the focus of his statement. Yes. And he left the building at 01:12 and 29 seconds.
Right.
I just want to offer my thanks to all of those residents who have provided those detailed and very useful statements, and I commend them to you, sir.
Yes. Well, they are all important, they contain important evidence which we shall consider together with all the other evidence before the inquiry.
I'm very grateful.
As you say, grateful to those who've taken the trouble to make these statements.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, there are two other matters of housekeeping that I should cover now, if I may, and I think then that will close the business for the day. The first, it relates to our witness timetable for this week.
Yes.
The fourth witness, whom we were due to hear tomorrow afternoon, Hanan Wahabi, for good reasons, is unable to give evidence tomorrow, unfortunately. We only found out about that very recently. We will call her to give evidence at a later date in the programme. The result of that is that there will only be one witness tomorrow, who will be Miguel Alves, the husband of Fatima Alves, from whom you heard this afternoon. He'll come tomorrow morning. But we will use some of the time tomorrow to put in further written statements into the record, as I've done this afternoon.
Right.
So, Mr. Chairman, a 10 o'clock start is something that I think we can live with.
Yes. Well, uncharacteristically, you're not inviting me to do anything else.
No, I feel... no, not on this occasion.
No.
The other thing I should do is just bring people up to date very briefly with disclosure. Phase 1 disclosure, first of all, the position is this: excluding technical duplicates identified by our technical advisors, the inquiry currently has 370,268 documents. Those are Phase 1, Phase 2, and expert reports.
Right.
We have 25,974 documents relating to Phase 1 and to expert materials, of which 19,006 documents have been disclosed to core participants, equating to some 73% of the Phase 1 documents. It's important to bear in mind that many of the Phase 1 documents held by the inquiry are duplicates, and which are those not previously identified by our technical advisors. They've been assessed by the inquiry as not relevant or probative to Phase 1, or else have been determined as relevant to Phase 2, and they'll be disclosed as part of Phase 2, subject to further relevance tests. We have currently 343 Phase 1 items yet to be disclosed, 1% or so of Phase 1 disclosure, all of which are presently proceeding through the inquiry's usual processes of redaction and MPS approval, or non-veto, as it were, where necessary.
Yes.
And the majority of those are BSR statements and accompanying exhibits, which are still coming through. We continue to receive disclosure from the LFB, from the police, and from bereaved survivors and residents on a rolling basis. On receipt of that disclosure, the inquiry processes those materials for relevance. We do redaction reviews, and we do subsequent disclosure as fast as we possibly can. But it's inevitable, I'm afraid, that there will be late receipt of material, which results in later disclosure to core participants at a later stage. That's just unavoidable. But that then leaves 344,294 documents which don't relate to Phase 1. The scale of the inquiry's disclosure exercise relating to Phase 2 is significantly larger than Phase 1. And there are some examples I can give of the scale of the disclosure provided to the inquiry relating to Phase 2. As I'm presently advised, Ryden have provided 64,246 documents, Studio E 11,790, Max Fordham 10,464, RBKC 27,930, Secretary of State for the Home Department 45,922, and the Department for Communities and Local Government, or Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government as it now is, 18,410. That disclosure is being monitored closely and examined closely for further documents or categories of documents as they come in and as we go. Right. So it's a rolling programme. The inquiry's second level review of Phase 2 documents has started in earnest. Good progress is being made on the construction documents and on the aftermath documents. You'll remember, Mr. Chairman, that we've previously indicated that Phase 2 disclosure will commence after the Rule 9 witness statements are received. from those from whom we have requested them.
Yes.
We remain on track to release the first tranches of Phase 2 documents during October, and disclosure will continue thereafter on a rolling basis for the rest of the year and into 2019. We aim to produce a disclosure update in more detail later this month, as soon as possible, I hope, with further details on progress made on document review and an update on document requests made. So I hope that that gives you and everybody else something of a flavour of what we're doing behind the scenes on documents.
Yes, well, that's very helpful. I think everyone is aware that the volume of material disclosed in relation to Phase 2 is enormous. I hope, having heard those figures, that there are quite a lot of duplicates. But even if there aren't, there's still, even if there are, they're going to be a large amount to assimilate.
Yes,
So
well, that's right.
It just takes time.
That's right. I should just also add, because I know people have asked about it, that the relevance test being applied is the test in our documents protocol.
Yes.
And it's being applied assiduously by both Level 1 and Level 2 reviews.
Good.
So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes the business for the day, I'm glad to say. With that, I can ask you to close proceedings for the day.
Well, thank you very much. Well, there it is. We shall break now and resume tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, and when we look forward to hearing from another witness.
Thank you.
Thank you. 10 o'clock tomorrow then, please.